Welcome to Trending Unpacked, where we make sense of what the world is searching for.
And right now, the world is searching for clarity amidst, well, a whole lot of chaos. We're talking about the fallout from Hollywood's most unpredictable annual moment, the Golden Globe nominations.
Exactly. We're looking at the 2026 Golden Globes. This is the 83rd go-around, and the nominations were announced this Monday morning, December 8th, by Marlon Wayans and Sky P. Marshall. And you could you could feel the digital tremor of the second the names were read.
Oh, it was immediate, pure, instantaneous reaction. Social media just turned into this live-action stream of celebration on one side and just visceral outrage on the other.
Right.
Yet fans going wild for surprise picks like Rhea Seehorn finally getting a major nod, which was long overdue, and Glenn Powell's big moment. But that was happening right alongside the baffling omissions.
And the stakes here, especially with the Globes, they always feel so uniquely amplified. It's not just about who gets a trophy in January. This is a huge reflection and, frankly, a shaper of culture.
It really is.
These nominations, they define industry taste for the next year. They influence whether you're going to go stream that limited series you'd never heard of, or if you rush out to see a smaller indie film in the theater.
Well, and the Globes have always been Hollywood's most, let's call it chaotic barometer. They deliberately blend film and TV, and their voting body, which is full of international journalists, they have this tendency to throw these magnificent curveballs. And those curveballs tell us a lot about which stories are actually traveling globally versus what's just, domestic industry prestige.
That distinction is everything. That international lens is the key difference that really sets the Globes apart from the Oscars, which is just film, or the Emmys, which is just TV. And that's what makes this whole list so fascinatingly contradictory.
That's absolutely right. And that's our mission here. We're going to break down this sprawling, sometimes nonsensical field. We'll identify the genuine frontrunners, the truly baffling category choices, and try to figure out what this chaotic slate reveals about the evolving entertainment landscape heading into 2026.
Okay, let's unpack that roadmap, starting right where the consensus landed, the film side. Because there's clearly a consolidation of power around a few specific, auteur-driven heavy hitters.
Yeah, when you look at the raw numbers, there's one definitive statistical leader that kind of sets the temperature for the entire season, and that is Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another.
It leads the field with a commanding 9 nominations.
9, which is huge.
That's massive, especially for a film that's officially in the musical or comedy category.
Yeah.
Got all the big ones, Best Picture, Director, and Screenplay. That kind of breadth of support is exactly what you look for when you're trying to spot a true frontrunner.
And it's the ensemble support that really confirms its strength. You have Leonardo DiCaprio in the lead actor category, which everyone expected.
Sure.
But then you get that trio of supporting nominations for Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, and the explosive debut of Chase Infinity. When voters reward that many performances, it tells you they love the film holistically.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. It is, without question, the definitive film to beat this season.
But wait, let me jump in here. 9 nominations for a musical or comedy. Doesn't a number that high sometimes signal that it's a bit of a compromise candidate? A crowd pleaser that everyone likes but maybe doesn't love enough to sweep the really heavy drama categories?
That's a very fair strategic reading of it.
Maybe it's not unbeatable, but just sort of the best-liked film by the broadest group of international voters?
It suggests depth of appreciation, yes, but you're right, maybe not overwhelming passion. And you can contrast that with the film right behind it. Joachim Trier's Norwegian drama, Sentimental Value.
Okay.
That film grabbed 8 nominations, and its strength is not in being a consensus pick, but in deep, passionate support from that international voting body we were just talking about.
That film really did seem to resonate. It got the same key categories as the leader, picture, director, screenplay. But its power feels specifically tied to the Globes' unique voter dynamic.
Absolutely. Sentimental Value is an international powerhouse. It landed Renate Ronsvay in the Best Actress in a Drama category, which is a key placement.
Right.
And critically, it grabbed 3 supporting nods, Elle Fanning and Inge Ibsdottir Lillias in Supporting Actress, and Stellan Skarsgård in Supporting Actor. When a non-English language film shows that kind of broad acting support, it suggests the emotional core just traveled really well across borders.
And that's what the Globes voters are always looking for.
It's what they prioritize.
And if you look at the business behind that, it's also a huge testament to the distributor, Neon. They have completely cornered the market on acclaimed international festival cinema. They know exactly how to guide these smaller, often subtitled projects right through the awards labyrinth.
Their strategy is just brilliant. They go to festivals like Cannes and Venice, they identify the art house hit, they spend the money, and they deliver it directly to the Globes voters who are already predisposed to favoring non-American stories.
And then completing that top three, we have Ryan Coogler's Sinners with 7 nominations. And this film is the genre dark horse that everyone is talking about.
It is. It got nominations for Best Drama, Director, and Key Acting bids, including a really complex dual role for Michael B. Jordan. But what's really fascinating is its position as a genre-bending period thriller, almost a horror film set in the Jim Crow South.
The fact that a horror-adjacent film got 7 major nominations is, I mean, that's a monumental achievement. Horror is usually the genre that gets completely overlooked by awards bodies.
Right, they dismiss it as just a technical exercise, a sound nomination maybe. But Sinners clearly transcended that bias.
So does this signal a genuine shift in studio strategy, though? If a horror film gets 7 nods here, are studios now going to try to strategically submit their prestige horror projects to the Globes, hoping to break through?
I think we're already seeing that shift.
Yeah.
The success of Sinners proves that genre can carry prestige, but, and this is a big better, only when it's paired with a director who has the critical weight of a Ryan Coogler. It's not just horror, it's auteur horror.
That makes sense.
It confirms that if you get the directing nod, the rest of the craft nominations will follow, no matter the subject.
Okay, so moving beyond those top 3, let's look at the rest of the Best Motion Picture Drama category. We saw Guillermo del Toro's dark, really faithful adaptation of the Mary Shelley classic Frankenstein make the cut.
Del Toro is a huge voter favorite. You know, his visual style, his previous Globe wins. So the film got the Best Picture nod, plus lead acting for Oscar Isaac, and a supporting nod for Jacob Elordi.
This is classic Globes material.
Yeah.
Star power, a famous book, and a recognizable auteur.
We also saw Chloe Zhao's adaptation of the best-selling novel, Hamnet, land nominations for picture, director, Jessie Buckley, and Paul Mescal. It's interesting to see her move from that very atmospheric indie cinema to a more sweeping literary adaptation.
It shows the industry is hungry for established talent, tackling, familiar, weighty material.
Yeah.
But to go back to that international element, we need to talk about the other drama contenders, specifically the 2 films from Neon.
You've got It Was Just an Accident by the acclaimed director Jafar Panahi, a contender in the non-English language category, and The Secret Agent, which is a Brazilian political thriller that also got a lead actor nod for Wagner Moura.
Neon just cleaned up in that international category. They essentially monopolized the Best Motion Picture Non-English Language category with 4 of the 6 nominations. That's astonishing.
It's absolute dominance. It suggests that if you're an independent filmmaker working outside the big U.S. studios, your path to major international recognition now runs squarely through Neon's acquisition office.
Okay, let's talk about the category that causes a digital war every single year. Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy. It feels like this year, the name of the category finally just became an active, ridiculous lie.
The definition of comedy has completely imploded. Beyond the frontrunner, one battle after another, you have Yorgos Lanthimos' Bugonia, which reunites him with Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons.
Which is praised, yes, but
its tone is surrealist, often incredibly stressful, and it's filled with deep social critique. Calling it a comedy is a real stretch by any traditional metric.
You also have Josh Safdie's frantic, anxiety-fueled Marty Supreme, starring Timothée Chalamet, which feels much more like a character-driven anxiety drama.
Absolutely.
And then, somehow, Richard Linklater secured 2 spots in this chaotic category with Blue Moon and the French language Nouvelle Vague.
That double nomination for Linklater is a testament to his prolific output, but it also just underscores the whole problem. Blue Moon, for example, is categorized by film fans on sites like Letterboxd, where millions of users track and define films as a clear drama.
So how did the Globes voters decide otherwise?
I think the major snub of Wicked, for good, from the main category is the proof point, isn't it? It is a massive, dedicated, actual musical.
An honest-to-goodness musical.
Yes, and yet it was excluded from the musical or comedy category, even though it stars Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, both got acting recognition. It's truly baffling when a legitimate musical is left out. But films that are widely considered high-anxiety dramas, like If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You and Blue Moon, are sitting right there.
Yeah.
The category is meaningless.
The prevailing theory online is that it's just the non-drama catch-all now.
It is. It's where the dark satires, the genre blenders, and anything that isn't a sweeping historical melodrama goes to avoid the brutally stacked drama category.
It's just pure strategic submission. A studio looks at the competition and decides it's better to submit a dark satire as a comedy to get a nomination rather than risk being the 7th best drama of the year.
Exactly. It's survival. Now let's pivot to the small screen. The TV landscape is always complex, often chaotic.
Yeah, and it remains heavily dominated by prestige streaming content. It really cements that streaming platforms are now rivaling traditional networks and generating that water cooler conversation and awards attention.
The biggest story on the TV side has to be the near-total dominance of HBO's third season of The White Lotus.
Oh, yeah.
The anthology series got 6 nominations, leading the entire TV field. It's up for Best Drama Series, and the new cast, moving the action to Thailand, clearly resonated with voters who love high production values mixed with sharp satire.
I noticed it practically swept the supporting categories for television.
Yeah.
Carrie Coon, Parker Posey, Walton Goggins, Jason Isaacs, and Amy Lou Wood all got nominations. That's 5 nominees from a single show.
That's significant because it shows overwhelming, across-the-board recognition. But you have to wonder, does having 5 nominees from the same show potentially cannibalize their own votes?
That's a great point. They're all competing against each other. It could open the door for a lone actor from a competitor show to sneak in and win.
Right. It speaks to depth, but maybe not victory.
Yeah.
And in the drama series race, The White Lotus is competing with some heavy hitters, including the long-awaited return of Severance for Season 2.
Which has a massive cultural following.
Huge. And The Diplomat is back with its solid political thriller run. But the big surprise newcomer, which tells us a lot about voter taste, is The Pit.
A medical drama starring Noah Weil, breaking into the top drama category. Medical procedurals rarely crack this top tier.
It signals strong industry support for a high-level procedural format when it's executed exceptionally well and has that prestige stamp. The fact that it made it in over other established prestige dramas is a real statement. Noah Weil also got a lead actor nod, which confirms the voters loved that core performance.
Okay, shifting to the comedy series race, we're seeing the incumbents return for a battle royale.
It's The Bear versus Hacks. They continue their awards dominance, with repeat acting nominations for Jeremy Allen White and Ayo Edebiri for The Bear, and Jean Smart and Hannah Einbinder for Hacks.
These are clearly voter favorites, but you have to acknowledge the challenge of maintaining that dominance into a 3rd, 4th, or 5th season. Sometimes voters just look for something new because they feel like they've rewarded the incumbents enough.
And the notable fresh entry in comedy is Nobody Wants This, a rom-com series starring Kristen Bell and Adam Brody, both of whom got acting nominations. This signals a welcome return for the classic romantic comedy format to awards consideration.
Something audiences have clearly been craving.
Definitely. It's a throwback, but polished for the streaming age.
And finally, the limited series category. This is always where the true innovation happens, giving us a complete, finite story that big stars often gravitate towards.
The British drama Adolescence is the project to watch here. It pulled in 5 nominations. What makes it so unique is that it's a one-shot narrative filmed entirely in real time.
Wow.
A massive creative risk that has completely captivated critics.
Filming a narrative in real time, that demands an immense level of coordination and focus. That technical ambition alone probably impressed a lot of voters.
Absolutely. That kind of creative audacity gets rewarded. Adolescence also had a strong showing in acting, with Aaron Doherty, Owen Cooper, Ashley Walters, and Stephen Graham all nominated. It's up against the latest season of Black Mirror and the political thriller The Beast in Me.
Before we jump into the online chaos, we have to talk about how the Globes themselves are trying to stay relevant by shifting their own structure. They introduced 2 huge changes this year. First, the inclusion of a Best Podcast category.
This is a major structural shift. It expands the Globes beyond traditional visual media and reflects the growing cultural influence of audio. Podcasts are now essential entertainment, and the Globes are trying to signal that they're reflective of the total media diet, not just what's consumed on a screen.
The first ever nominees include some of the biggest names in the audio world. Armchair expert Call Her Daddy, Smartless, up first. It's a huge, if controversial, acknowledgement of how people are consuming media differently.
But they didn't stop there. They also highlighted the Cinematic and Box Office Achievement category. This is in its 3rd year, and it's designed to recognize blockbusters, not just for revenue, but for their overall cultural and cinematic merit.
And we should just quickly reiterate the structural difference of the Globes. Their blended nature film and TV and that international journalism voting body ensure they cast a much wider net than the Oscars or the Emmys.
They're designed to be more eclectic, more global, and frankly more chaotic.
And this year's nominations prove they succeeded in maximizing all 3. Now let's get straight into that glorious chaos.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's start with that cinematic and box office achievement category, because the internet is united in calling this nonsense pandering. The absurdity started right away with one particular inclusion: Avatar, Fire and Ash.
Correct. The pure mockery online came from the simple fact that the film hasn't been released yet.
This doesn't exist.
It has no box office gross. As one source dryly noted, the only achievement it can claim is the number of pre-ordered tickets. Nominating a film that literally doesn't exist yet prompted critics to call the category stupid and hilarious.
Who makes that call? That's peak Globes absurdity, isn't it? It feels like they're rewarding brand power and the certainty of success rather than actual realized achievement.
It completely undermines the integrity of the category. And that wasn't the only contradiction. We also saw the nomination of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning,
Which reportedly lost over $100 million at the box office.
right. If an achievement category includes a film that was widely reported to be a financial failure, what is the category even measuring?
And if the criteria is purely financial, people were quick to point out that the two highest-grossing films of the year, Minecraft and Lilo and Stitch, the only film over $1 billion, were completely snubbed.
Which confirms that revenue alone isn't enough, which is good because the category requires cinematic achievement as well. As one online commenter put it, the goal is to recognize blockbusters that are also good, basically.
Right. It's supposed to capture the Barbenheimer phenomenon.
Exactly. Films that become cultural movements. And the criteria also cleverly include equivalent streaming achievement. And this is why we saw the nomination of K-pop Demon Hunters.
Right. Critics were initially confused, asking, wait, what box office?
Yeah.
Since it was mostly a streaming release.
But it was clarified that it did have a short, profitable theatrical run, and its massive overall cultural impact, spawning a huge global trend, justified its inclusion. So it's not a box office award, it's a relevance award.
Speaking of trying too hard to capture the zeitgeist, let's move to the new Best Podcast category, which has faced a lot of backlash. It's largely being called a pander to stay relevant.
The consensus seems to be that the Globes are just pandering to every segment now to stay relevant. The category is being called a joke, especially since many of the nominated shows, like Smartless and Armchair Expert, are heavily reliant on ad reads.
The critical question online is, why is a prestigious award show honoring content that has 40% commercial interruption? It raises a valid point about the optics of prestige.
It creates a strange tension. But look at the strategic necessity for the Globes. Traditional TV viewership is declining. Podcasts, however, are exploding, reaching massive, engaged, and often younger audiences. This move is a desperate strategic attempt to pull those audiences into the awards ecosystem.
And the backlash only seems to increase the visibility of the Globes, which is probably part of the strategy.
Probably. And the humor online has extended to the campaigning efforts, noting that figures like Ben Shapiro reportedly campaigned aggressively for inclusion, even using billboards. It highlights how serious the push for recognition in this new media landscape is, even if traditionalists find it embarrassing.
Let's pivot to the genre confusion that guarantees half the social media memes every year. The musical or comedy category is clearly losing all meaning.
The placement of certain films is genuinely confusing. We already discussed the major snub of Wicked, for good, from the main category, despite being a dedicated musical.
But then look at what is nominated. We have If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, which is widely described as an intense, anxiety-inducing drama about a character with a terminal illness sitting right there in the comedy category.
Or one commenter noted, if any movie ever fit perfectly in the drama category, it is If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. It's just studio maneuvering at its most blatant.
The online take that the category should just be renamed non-drama is gaining serious traction.
It is. It's the place studios send projects they know are too serious to be pure comedy, but too weird or dark to beat the prestige dramas.
Beyond the category fraud, the internet is having a field day with the snubs and the redemption arcs, starting with the high-profile omissions. Gwyneth Paltrow didn't get a nod for her return in Marty Supreme, and Sydney Sweeney was shut out despite the best reviews of her career for Christie.
The Jennifer Lopez snub was also keenly felt by fans. She was overlooked for her acclaimed work in the musical Kiss of the Spider-Woman.
And on the TV side, the complete shutout of Stranger Things in its final season was a massive blow, especially considering its cultural weight and previous Globe recognition.
It suggests awards voters might be actively moving on from long-running franchises, even if the final season generated huge streaming numbers. We also saw a significant Emmy versus Globe disconnect. Emmy winners like Catherine Lanza for The Pit and Quinta Brunson for Abbott Elementary were notably snubbed here.
Brunson's omission for a performance in a series that still got a series nod suggests that Abbott Elementary, now in its 5th season, might be starting to fade in the minds of awards voters.
And Catherine Lanza's snub for The Pit is even more striking because 3 of the White Lotus supporting actresses, all of whom Lanza had recently beaten at the Emmys, got Globe nominations.
That exclusion highlights the international voting body factor. The Pit is a very new procedural, and speculation suggests it just hasn't had the international rollout or exposure that the Globe's global journalists require.
It's a very specific taste profile, But then we have the surprises, the redemption arcs that everyone is celebrating. The internet exploded with happiness when Rhea Seehorn finally got recognized for her new Apple TV show Pluribus after years of being famously and unfairly snubbed for her work on Better Call Saul.
That was a collective exhale from film and TV Twitter. It shows that persistence and a highly talented new project can overcome past awards failures.
And Eva Victor's nomination for Best Actress in a Drama for Sorry Baby was a stunning shock. Pundits had expected bigger names like Laura Dern or Sydney Sweeney to take that slot.
It shows that sometimes performance truly cuts through celebrity power. We also have to celebrate Glenn Powell, snagging a surprise nod for the Hulu comedy Chad Powers, capitalizing on his massive popularity.
And the unexpected dual nominations highlight the importance of star power for the international voting body. Jacob Elordi got a supporting nod for Frankenstein. But the surprise was his lead actor nomination for the limited series, The Narrow Road to the Deep North.
A very low-profile series that few outside of critics had watched and which the Emmys ignored entirely.
It's a huge tell. It suggests the international voters were easily drawn to recognized, trending star power. They see a known quantity, a breakout star of the moment, and then nominate the work associated with them, no matter how obscure the project is.
And finally, a surprise redemption of sorts. Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson both secured supporting nominations for the boxing drama The Smashing Machine. Many assumed that film was dead in the water after a muted box office showing.
The Globes are often where bigger stars land nominations, even if the film underperforms. It definitely ups their chances for recognition elsewhere, signaling that the performances themselves were strong enough to warrant attention. It gives that film life again.
We absolutely cannot move on without discussing the great announcer controversy of 2025. Marlon Wayans, co-hosting the announcement, became instantly viral for all the wrong reasons.
The online reaction was entirely focused on Wayans mangling the pronunciation of the nominees' names, which is widely criticized as disrespectful and, frankly, baffling.
I'm still reeling from the Ludwig Göransson moment. Composer Ludwig Göransson is one of the most recognized and celebrated composers working today, and to hear his name so completely butchered was shocking.
And that wasn't even the worst. The mispronunciation of Sarah Silverman's comedy special as postpartum instead of postmortem led to a flood of confused jokes online because those two words mean dramatically different things.
What made it worse, of course, was a direct contrast with co-host Sky P. Marshall's perfect readings.
The frustration online was palpable. But here's the kicker. The bizarre twist of chaos only the Globes can deliver. In the midst of all the mangling, Wayans unintentionally pronounced Inga Ibsdottir Lillies's name, a famously difficult Scandinavian name, correctly.
No way!
Yes. It was hilarious, given that her name has been mispronounced all season by far more serious awards commentators.
That is the beautiful, chaotic essence of the Golden Globes right there.
So after wading through all the surprises, snubs, and slip-ups, what do these nominations really tell us about Hollywood's shifting priorities and influence right now?
They confirm, first and foremost, a heavy reliance on auteur-driven cinema and international co-productions. Look at the key directors nominated: Paul Thomas Anderson, Ryan Coogler, Guillermo del Toro, Chloe Zhao, and crucially, Joachim Trier and Jafar Panahi. This slate is driven by singular creative visions.
The international lens, as we noted, is hugely pronounced. The heavy presence of neon, nearly monopolizing the non-English language category, shows how receptive Globes voters are to non-English content. It signals that the future of prestige film is deeply global.
And we have to talk about genre acceptance. The nominations show that genre films, thrillers like Sinners and sci-fi comedies like Begonia, are competing on equal footing with traditional dramas. This indicates a growing industry embrace of non-traditional formats.
It's a major structural shift. No longer are awards strictly reserved for historical biopics or sweeping period pieces. The success of Sinners proves that if a genre film is executed with a level of critical and artistic ambition, it can break through the highest ceilings.
So what about the awards' historical influence? Do the Globes still set Oscar momentum, or have they become just a sideshow?
Oh, they absolutely still matter. The nominations still have real-world consequences. We've already seen that the surprising nominations for Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt for The Smashing Machine immediately ups their chances elsewhere, particularly at the Oscars.
And crucially, these nominations drive ticket sales, streaming viewership, and online discussion for the nominated projects. For a smaller film like Sentimental Value, the nominations are a massive injection of cultural visibility.
But despite the diversity, the field is defined by a significant consolidation of power. If you look at the total nomination count, the race is disproportionately defined by those few key titles. One battle after another: Sentimental Value, Sinners. And on the TV side, The White Lotus and Adolescence.
Which brings us back to the core tension, the Globe's strategy to maintain relevance amidst controversy, especially now in the digital age.
They are clearly using what we would call stunts to garner attention. The confusion around the box office achievement category, nominating an unreleased Avatar film, and the introduction of the podcast category are deliberate, engineered attempts to generate buzz and stay relevant.
It's an attempt to bridge the gap between public taste and elite taste, isn't it? The inclusion of major box office hits and streaming giants reflects an attempt to recognize what people are actually watching.
Precisely. They are aiming for public relevance. However, social media instantly amplifies the backlash and the snub lists, defining the award season narratives within minutes. People often focus more on the omissions than the eventual winners.
And the meme culture around the genre confusion and Marlon Wayans' slip-ups keeps the awards buzz alive far longer than the quality of the nominations might otherwise warrant.
So what does this all mean for January 11th when the ceremony is hosted by Nikki Glaser? What should you, the listener, be watching for?
The key narrative heading into the ceremony will be that three-way battle for Best Picture. Will the heavy statistical frontrunner, the PTA auteur musical One Battle After Another, translate its 9 nominations into a sweeping victory?
Or will the strong international challenge posed by Joachim Trier's delicate drama Sentimental Value pull off a surprise?
And don't forget the genre dark horse. If voters reward boundary-pushing work, Sinners could pull off a major upset. It's a battle between the beloved American auteur, the subtle Scandinavian drama, and the genre-bending Hollywood thriller.
It's a perfect encapsulation of this year's eclectic and chaotic field. And the conversation about what constitutes entertainment achievement is clearly far from settled. If success is increasingly measured by cultural impact, will categories like Best Podcast become the norm across all award shows? Or will the prestige of film and TV ultimately reclaim its exclusive spotlight?
Something for you to consider as we move further into awards season. We will certainly be tracking the fallout from that three-way race in January. In our next episode, we turn our focus closer to home as searches surge around a Bondi Beach shooting, unpacking what's confirmed, what's speculation, and why the story is spreading so fast.
Join us next time for another look at what's trending and why.